Hello, today's story takes place in Gangnam District, Seoul, South Korea, located south of the Han River. This area is filled with towering skyscrapers, luxury cars, and high-end fashion stores. It's a place where the wealthy and elite gather, especially Cheongdam-dong, a symbol of upscale and trendy city life. The main character of the story is Lee Hyung-ho, a 9-year-old boy who is in Class 3 at Cheongdam Elementary School in Seoul. He has one older brother and one younger brother, making him the middle child in the family. After his parents divorced, his younger brother lived with their biological mother. Lee Hyung-ho stayed with his father, stepmother, and older brother. His father's name is Lee Gu-seok, and his stepmother is Choi Yoon-ji. The four of them lived in a modern apartment in Cheongdam-dong, Gangnam, known as a symbol of wealth in Seoul. Even though she was not his biological mother, Choi Yoon-ji deeply loved both of her husband's sons. Their family could have had a happy, peaceful life. But one winter evening, something happened that turned their world upside down. It would become one of the top 3 most shocking unsolved cases in South Korea. Let's now go back in time to January 29, 1991, to understand what really happened. That day was a Tuesday. It was already dark outside the window. On that cold and quiet winter night, 9-year-old Lee Hyung-ho had still not come home. His parents were extremely worried. Like many kids, Lee Hyung-ho was playful and full of curiosity about the world. He loved to explore, but despite being active, he was not irresponsible. He always came home before dark. That day, however, was different. His stepmother, Choi Yoon-ji, started calling his classmates' homes to look for him. One of his friends, Kim, said that on that Tuesday afternoon, Hyung-ho had come to his house to eat vegetable bibimbap. After that, the two boys went to play at a playground near the Huna apartment complex. Around 5:30 p.m., Kim decided to go home, but Hyung-ho wanted to play a little longer and told Kim to go ahead. When asked why, he said he was afraid of being scolded by his mom if he came home too early. So Kim left, leaving Hyung-ho alone at the playground. After hearing this, Choi Yoon-ji had a bad feeling. By 8 p.m., she and her husband couldn't wait any longer. They split up to search for their son. They went to the nearby playground, calling out his name. After a while, their throats were dry from shouting, but still, there was no sign of Lee Hyung-ho. With no other choice, they reported him missing to the police. As soon as they received the report, police officers from Gangnam, Seoul, were dispatched to the house to investigate. The media also quickly got word of the case and came to interview the family. Soon, the Lee family's home was packed with police officers, reporters, and neighbors. The air was tense and heavy. Every now and then, you could hear Choi Yoon-ji sobbing. Her husband, Lee Gu-seok, sat beside her, holding her hands tightly, his face full of worry and helplessness. At 11:30 p.m., the phone suddenly rang. Lee Gu-seok hurried to pick it up. On the other end of the line was a cold, terrifying voice. "The boy is with me. You have 2 days. Prepare 70 million won. Also, install a car phone in your vehicle." The kidnapper made it clear, "Do not call the police." Then he hung up. The entire house fell silent. Even the reporters seemed to feel the chilling seriousness of the situation. Everyone left the house quietly. The couple sat there in silence, weighed down by fear. The police began analyzing the case. It seemed like the kidnapper knew the family well. He knew they were wealthy and capable of paying 70 million won in cash. At that time, 70 million won was equivalent to around 5 billion Vietnamese dong. A huge amount not many families could afford. The demand to install a car phone was an unusual detail that made police wonder what the kidnapper was planning next. After discussing with Mr. Lee, the police agreed to go along with the kidnapper's demands for now to keep the child safe. 2 days later, on January 31st, the house phone rang again. Choi Yoon-ji picked up. A man's voice claimed he was a police officer from Seoul district, helping with the investigation. He asked her to hand the phone over to a nearby officer. Just as she was about to pass the phone, she noticed something strange. The officer next to her gave her a signal with his eyes and gestures. He was warning her that the person on the line was actually the kidnapper. Choi Yoon-ji's heart skipped a beat, and cold sweat broke out on her skin. But she quickly regained her composure and said calmly into the phone, "What are you talking about?" "There's no police officer in my house right now." Before she could finish, the kidnapper hung up. He had gotten the answer he was looking for. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee was already in his car when the kidnapper called again. He told Mr. Lee to bring the ransom money and drive to Section 2 of the International Airport parking lot. After parking, he was to leave the money and car keys inside and take bus number 600 to leave the airport. The police had already set up a covert operation and were hiding in the area, ready to catch the kidnapper. But they waited in vain for 3 hours in the bitter cold, and the kidnapper never showed up. Right when everyone was still confused, unsure of what had just happened, the phone rang at Mrs. Choi Eun-ji's house. On the other end of the line was the angry voice of the kidnapper. He said that besides Lee Gu-seok and Chae-ok Rae in the car earlier, there was someone else, a police officer tied up and hidden in the trunk. It turned out that the police had secretly planted an officer in the trunk of Mr. Lee's car, planning to surprise and arrest the kidnapper the moment he stepped in. But how did the kidnapper find out about the cop in the trunk? After analyzing the situation, the police believed the kidnapper didn't actually know what was happening inside the car. From the outside, it was impossible to see into the trunk. Also, in a previous call, the kidnapper only mentioned the back seat, not the trunk. So it was likely just a psychological tactic. He was bluffing, trying to confuse and throw off the police. Not long after, the kidnapper used a public payphone near a bus stop to call Mr. Lee again. He ordered him to drive alone to Dahan Cinema. Mr. Lee followed the instructions and drove to the location. Once there, he received further instructions. Turn on all the car lights, open every door in the trunk, then leave the scene. Even though Mr. Lee followed everything exactly as told, the kidnapper never showed up. It seemed like another carefully staged game of hide and seek. Next, the kidnapper told Mr. Lee to drive to TG Australia Cafe. On the way there, Mr. Lee received another call instructing him to open all the doors once again and then go inside the cafe to drink coffee. However, the cafe was already closed at that hour, so the kidnapper told him to wait at a nearby fried chicken restaurant instead. Sitting there, surrounded by the smell of fried chicken, Mr. Lee's mind was in turmoil. Meanwhile, at home, Mrs. Choi Eun-ji was anxiously waiting for another call. Suddenly, the phone rang. The kidnapper's furious voice shouted again, "There are people patrolling around the house. I told you not to call the police. Don't try to lie to me." In reality, making Mr. Lee drive around to so many different places was the kidnapper's way of checking if the police were tailing him. Of course, the police had their own countermeasures. Every time the location changed, a different team and vehicle would follow, making it hard for a normal person to notice. So the police didn't fully believe what the kidnapper said. Still, Mrs. Choi was terrified when she picked up the phone. She tearfully apologized and tried to stay calm, explaining, "My husband was too scared to go alone, so he brought a relative along." Hearing this, the kidnapper seemed to calm down. The police now believed the kidnapper wouldn't show up again. But unexpectedly, they noticed two suspicious men lingering near the car with the ransom money inside. It looked like they were trying to take the bag of money left on the back seat. However, the two men loitered around the car for a long time without making a move, then left in a hurry. The police didn't intervene. They didn't think those two were the actual kidnappers. Acting too soon might tip them off and ruin their chance. Even though Mr. and Mrs. Lee were filled with anxiety and helplessness, they had no choice but to follow the police's instructions and quietly wait for another chance. That day, the kidnapper made a total of 16 threatening phone calls. Every time the phone rang, their hearts sank. It wasn't until early the next morning that he called again, demanding they bring 70 million won in cash to a newspaper stand across from the Center for Performance Art building on Karo Construction Road in Yongno-gu. At 2:20 a.m., Mr. and Mrs. Lee brought a suitcase full of fake money to the meeting spot. Mrs. Choi noticed a suspicious young man, around 20 years old, pacing near the newspaper stand and glancing over at the spot where the money was placed. The police debated whether to arrest him, but before they could act, the young man suddenly ran away, as if he realized something was off. Once again, the police missed a chance to catch a lead. 1 week after Lee Hyung-ho went missing on February 5th, the kidnapper contacted Mr. Lee again. He told him to go to a certain bus stop and look for a piece of paper that had been placed there. Along with the next task, the kidnapper casually asked how Mr. and Mrs. Lee were doing, if they had eaten yet. This strange question left them confused. At the bus stop, Mr. Lee found the piece of paper in a trash can. It listed 2 bank accounts along with the names of the account holders. One was Kim Jong-un from Commercial Bank, the other was John Jae-Yong-soo from Korea Bank. The kidnapper instructed Mr. Lee to transfer 20 million won to each account. Mr. Lee discussed it with the police. In the end, they decided to only send money to the Commercial Bank account and informed the bank to freeze it immediately. However, back then, the Korean banking system was still quite loose, and it was easy to open accounts with fake information. This made the investigation extremely difficult. In the end, the police couldn't find any useful leads from the account holder. They sent the note in for fingerprint analysis, but found nothing suspicious. Sometime later, the kidnapper called again to ask if the money had been transferred. Mr. Lee didn't lie. He admitted he only sent it to one account. Strangely, the kidnapper wasn't surprised. He didn't ask any further questions and just hung up. From that point on, Mr. and Mrs. Lee lived each day filled with fear and anxiety. A week later, around 8 p.m. on February 13th, the kidnapper suddenly called again. This time his voice was cold. Without giving them a chance to react, he gave more instructions. Go under the Olympic Bridge. There you'll find a metal box. A rock is holding down a piece of paper on top of it. Then surprisingly, his voice softened. Be good, and there will be gifts for the kid. He'll get a car. That line gave Mr. and Mrs. Lee a sliver of hope. Maybe the kidnapper was starting to ease up. Mrs. Choi quickly pleaded with him, begging to hear her son's voice, just to know he was still safe. But the kidnapper refused outright. Even though their hearts were full of pain and uncertainty, Mr. Lee still followed the instructions and went under the overpass on Olympic Avenue, where he found the note. Just like the kidnapper said, on a piece of paper it was written, "Leave 50 million won in cash on the Han River Bridge. After leaving, you'll know the whereabouts of the boy." The entire group rushed to the Han River Bridge, went to the exact location the kidnapper had specified, placed a suitcase full of cash there, then quickly left the scene. In reality, the suitcase didn't contain all real money, only a thin layer of about 100,000 won on top, while the rest was just newspaper. The police were secretly monitoring everything, ready to move in and arrest the kidnapper as soon as he showed up. This might have been their last chance. In that tense moment, everyone held their breath in silence. But then something unexpected happened. While communicating over walkie-talkies, the police accidentally gave the wrong location, causing the entire task force to head to the wrong place. At 10 p.m. that night, a black car sped down the road like a shadow and passed by the ransom drop spot in a flash. In an instant, the car door swung open. A gloved hand shot out lightning fast and grabbed the suitcase full of money. The car never even noticeably slowed down because the whole situation unfolded so suddenly and the police weren't properly positioned. The kidnapper got away right in front of everyone's eyes. No one even managed to catch the license plate. After taking the suitcase, the kidnapper called Mr. and Mrs. Lee again. His voice was full of sarcasm. "There's a lot of fake money in here, huh? I know you two don't really want the boy back, right? But thanks for not calling the police." His words felt like salt poured on their already bleeding hearts. Mrs. Choi panicked, kept asking if he was with Hyung-ho. The kidnapper laughed coldly. His tone was relaxed but carried a hint of exhaustion. 6 days later, on February 19th, a man in his 30s showed up at the Sangwidong branch of the Commercial Bank and tried to withdraw money from the account the kidnapper had previously provided. While the bank staff were processing the transaction, they discovered that the account had been frozen, though the system didn't show why. The banker, confused, asked the man if he knew the reason the account was blocked. Upon hearing this, the man's expression changed. He quickly snatched the card back and rushed out of the bank, disappearing into the crowd. That man was the very kidnapper the police had been hunting for. Unfortunately, at that time, the bank didn't have security cameras installed, so that bank employee became the only person to ever see the kidnapper's face. According to the witness, the man was about 165 centimeters tall, with small, long eyes, thick eyelids, thin, tight lips, and a slightly long chin. Based on this description, the police created a sketch of the suspect. The sketch was printed on flyers and 280,000 copies were distributed nationwide. They also recorded the kidnapper's voice onto 1,000 cassette tapes and broadcast them all across the country. Despite all these efforts, the kidnapper seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving behind only his haunting laugh from that last phone call for both the police and the Lee family. The Korean public was outraged at the police's repeated mishandling of the case and their failure to follow the criminal's tracks. The police blamed the bank, and the bank pointed fingers at their staff. By 1993, South Korea began implementing a financial identification system, laying the groundwork for better financial security and crime prevention in the future. In this shocking kidnapping case, the criminal made over 60 threatening phone calls. To avoid being tracked by phone signal, he kept each call strictly under 2 minutes. He also left over 10 handwritten notes with distorted, inconsistent handwriting, clearly intended to hide his real writing style. Still, the police persistently analyzed the notes and were able to identify certain unique writing habits and personal characteristics. A month and a half after the kidnapping, at 12:20 p.m. on March 13th, a maintenance worker repairing a railing on Olympic Boulevard near the Olympic Jamshil apartment complex discovered something strange in a storm drain. At first, he thought it was a doll, but as he got closer, he was shocked to realize it was the body of a child. The horrifying discovery confirmed what no one wanted to believe. It was Lee Hyung-ho, the missing boy. His eyes, nose, and mouth had been tightly sealed with duct tape. His arms and legs were tied with a scarf. His body was stiff, lying awkwardly across the drain. He was still wearing the clothes he had on the day he went missing, but his shoes had been changed to a newer pair of sneakers. The pager he had borrowed from a classmate was found on his clothes, with the step count stopped at 1,202. The location of his body was only about a 10-minute drive from his home. So close, yet so far. An autopsy revealed 3 bruises on his forehead, likely caused by the kidnapper knocking him unconscious. In his stomach were traces of rice, green onions, and other food he had eaten at his friend's house that day. Since the food hadn't fully digested, it meant Hyung-ho was killed not long after being kidnapped. The cause of death was determined to be suffocation. He was estimated to have died between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on January 30th. His body showed signs of freezing, suggesting he wasn't killed at the drain site. From the evidence, it's likely the kidnapper never intended to keep Hyung-ho alive. After killing him, he stored the body in a freezer before later dumping it. Lee Hyung-ho's funeral was held in sorrow, surrounded by grieving parents, family, classmates, teachers, and even strangers moved by compassion. Everyone shared the same wish, to bring the killer to justice. The Lee Hyung-ho case received huge media attention. News outlets constantly reported on the investigation. The entire nation of South Korea followed the story closely, hoping and praying for the boy's safety. Now everyone had only one goal: to catch the person responsible. Police believed this was not the work of just one man. This theory was based on several clues. During the phone calls, the kidnapper often used the word "we," hinting at the involvement of a group, whether intentionally or not. The police also analyzed the voice in the phone calls and believed that 12 men were involved. The investigation later revealed that all the ransom calls were made from different public phone booths scattered across the city. These locations had no clear pattern and were far apart, ranging from Dongdaemun Jonggu to Cheongyangni and more. While Mr. Lee Gu-seok was driving around following the kidnapper's instructions, the call locations kept changing. At the same time, Mrs. Cho Eun-gi was also frequently receiving phone calls from the criminal. This made it clear that the criminals were deliberately taking advantage of the couple being separated, using it to throw off the investigation, hide their identities, and avoid police interference. Their dispersed methods and constant change of locations pointed to a well-organized and carefully planned crime. The coordination and strategic movements strongly supported the police's theory that this was a highly organized operation. One striking example was the incident on the Ganga Bridge. As the car carrying the ransom passed the drop-off point, it didn't even slow down. Only the passenger side door opened briefly, and a hand reached out swiftly and decisively to grab the money. Pulling off such a precise move would have been nearly impossible for a single person. Based on this and other clues, police estimated that the criminal group likely consisted of 3 to 4 members, each with specific roles. One was responsible for making the phone calls and talking to the couple. One was the driver ensuring fast movement. Another directly handled tasks on the ground, or followed the couple from a distance. And there might be a leader, someone who knew personal details about the Lee family and was behind the scenes directing everything. As for the person making the calls, the first phone call was traced to a public phone booth about 2 kilometers from Lee Hyung-ho's apartment. After that, the kidnapper gave multiple directions to Mr. Lee, which suggested he was familiar with the area, possibly someone who lived or worked nearby. However, due to some oversight early in the investigation, the police didn't properly check the people around the victim's neighborhood. Now they could only rely on the voice as the main clue. The fact that the kidnapper only made calls on weekdays also caught the police's attention. This led to speculation that he might be an ordinary worker. However, that theory had some flaws. A regular worker would find it hard to commit crimes like these during work hours. The kidnapper's voice was deep, with a Seoul or Gyeonggi accent. He often used foul language, which suggested he might have worked in a rough environment for a long time. Police believed he had at least a high school education and was around 30 years old. During the calls, after making demands and receiving responses from Mr. Lee, he occasionally showed hesitation and indecisiveness. Later, his voice clearly revealed exhaustion and frustration. This made the police suspect that he might not be the mastermind, but someone following orders. Soon after releasing the composite sketch, the police received many reports from citizens. One person said they saw Lee Hyung-ho with a man in his 20s near the spot where the body was found. A street vendor also said they saw the two at Han River Park. The young man with Lee Hyung-ho had similar looks and voice to the person in the sketch. Police quickly tracked down this suspect, but eventually confirmed he was just a regular person, not involved in the case. The police then turned their attention to Mr. Lee Gu-seok's professional background. As a CEO of a large company, Mr. Lee had past conflicts with a competitor. This raised the possibility that revenge might be the motive. However, no solid evidence was found to support this theory. The investigation also looked into a man named Kim, who worked at Gimpo International Airport. His job and work environment matched many characteristics of the kidnapper. For example, a flexible schedule and the ability to move around during workdays. Also, Gimpo Airport was one of the places the kidnapper asked Mr. Lee to go to. His handwriting also resembled that of the kidnapper. More importantly, the name of Kim's younger sister was only one letter different from the name on the bank account provided by the kidnapper. However, all of this was still not enough to press charges. The police couldn't conclude that Mr. Kim was involved in the case. Eventually, police shifted focus to Lee Sang-jae, the maternal uncle of Lee Hyung-ho, who became the prime suspect. At the time, Lee Sang-jae was 29 years old, a college graduate majoring in telecommunications. He was struggling financially and often borrowed money from Mr. Lee Gu-seok, the victim's father. Their relationship was reportedly very strained. At that time, child kidnapping cases were a major concern in South Korea, and schools were stepping up safety education. If a stranger had tried to kidnap Lee Hyung-ho, he would have definitely screamed for help. But in this case, he obediently followed the person without resistance, suggesting that the kidnapper was someone he knew. As his uncle, Lee Sang-jae became a major suspect. According to Kim, the friend who was with Lee Hyung-ho on the day of the incident, the two children were playing at the apartment playground when they saw a young man smoking nearby with his back turned. However, they couldn't clearly see his face. That day, Lee Hyung-ho reportedly didn't want to go home because he was afraid of being scolded by his mother. This possibly stemmed from his stepmother, Choi Yeon-ji, not being happy about him meeting his half-brother, Lee Sang-ho. During his parents' divorce, Lee Sang-jae always sided with his sister. After the divorce, the court ordered Lee Hyung-ho's biological mother to pay Mr. Lee Gu-seok 70 million won in child support. This amount infuriated both Lee Sang-jae and his sister. And interestingly, 70 million won was exactly the ransom amount the kidnapper demanded. Furthermore, during the investigation, the police discovered that the names of two bank account holders provided by the kidnapper matched the names of two of Lee Sang-jae's friends. Voice analysis results also showed that Lee Sang-jae's voice had a 92% similarity with the kidnapper's voice from the recorded calls. There were simply too many coincidences. The police immediately summoned Lee Sang-jae for questioning. However, he provided an alibi, claiming that on the day Lee Hyung-ho went missing, he was traveling in Gyeongju City, North Gyeongsang Province. To support his statement, Lee Sang-chae presented a highway toll receipt from that day. A hotel owner in Gyeongju also confirmed that Lee had stayed there. Still, some people questioned his alibi, arguing that the documents only covered the exact day of Lee Hyung-ho's disappearance, but there was no proof for the days before or after. Even so, the police couldn't find any direct evidence to charge Lee Sang-chae. In the end, he was removed from the suspect list. Throughout the investigation of this shocking case, South Korean police deployed over 10,000 personnel, compiled a list of 400 suspects, conducted over 700 handwriting analyses, screened 28,000 potential suspects nationwide, and offered a 30 million won reward for useful information. But the criminal remained at large. In January 2006, 15 years after the incident, the investigation was officially closed due to the expiration of the statute of limitations under Korean law. The case became an unsolved mystery. Lee Hyung-ho's father, Lee Gu-seok, sadly asked, "Who is the statute of limitations really protecting?" The case sparked public outrage. Many believed that serious crimes like kidnapping and murder shouldn't have a time limit for prosecution. More than 50,000 people signed a petition to the Blue House, urging the government to abolish the statute of limitations for serious offenses. The Korean police were heavily criticized for their poor handling of the case. When autopsy results revealed leftover food in the victim's stomach, the police failed to connect it with the lunch Lee Hyung-ho had at a friend's house on the day he went missing. Instead of focusing on this critical lead, they wasted time pointlessly checking restaurants in Songpa and Gangnam districts. Mr. Lee Gu-seok became extremely frustrated with the police investigation, and his relationship with the authorities grew tense. One officer involved in the case admitted, "I barely spoke to him." Although the case remains unsolved and the statute of limitations has expired, the Korean public has never given up hope of uncovering the truth. In 2007, the movie Voice of a Murderer, inspired by Lee Hyung-ho's case, was released. The film reignited public interest and debate. The filmmakers had received consent from Lee Hyung-ho's biological parents. However, his stepmother, Cho Eun-ji, strongly opposed it, claiming that the movie defamed her and reopened painful wounds. She filed a lawsuit against the producers, demanding a ban on the film's release. This controversy somewhat affected the public's perception of the movie. At the end of the film, the real kidnapper's voice recording was played, sending chills down the viewer's spines. On Korean online forums, Lee Hyung-ho's case continues to spark intense discussions. Some believe the perpetrator was someone close to Cho Eun-ji. Others speculate that the criminal may have been an insider within the police force. Some even suspect Lee Gu-seok, the boy's father, of being behind it all. However, all of these theories are just internet speculation with no solid evidence. Back in 1991, a popular Korean TV program called Want to Know the Truth covered the case. In May 2011, the show revisited the story, conducting new investigations, interviews, and expert analyses. In the show, voice analysis experts attempted to reconstruct the kidnapper's face based on his voice. While police had earlier drawn a portrait of the suspect with an oval face and a long chin, the experts argued that the kidnapper likely had more developed jaw muscles and a shorter distance from the mouth to the chin. They noted that the suspect spoke very clearly, almost like a broadcaster. Based on that, they believed that with the facial structure in the original sketch, he wouldn't have been able to speak so precisely. So the experts made several small adjustments to the portrait using voice and handwriting analysis. The show concluded that there was likely only one person making the ransom calls. Any differences in voice might have been due to external factors, such as wearing a thick mask while speaking. In 2015, Mr. Lee Gu-seok agreed to a media interview. After his son's death, he went through an extremely difficult time. At one point, he turned to alcohol to numb the pain, and his career also suffered. Fortunately, his health remained stable. In 2006, he founded a construction company named Hyogu, combining his and his son's names. Talking about his son's personality, Mr. Lee smiled and recalled, "He was such a good boy, always cheerful and active. One time he came home after getting into a fight. I asked him what happened, and he said someone was bullying his older brother. So he grabbed a handful of coal and threw it at the kid. That was just the kind of boy he was." At this point, Mr. Lee's voice broke, and tears welled up in his eyes. Even after more than 15 years, Mr. Lee never stopped searching for the killer. The media also interviewed Lee Hyung-ho's biological mother. It's reported that she worked closely with the police during the investigation. After her son's funeral, she became a Buddhist nun and now prays every day for Lee Hyung-ho's soul to rest in peace. In October 2019, the media reported that the kidnapper's voice, the only remaining piece of evidence, was being analyzed using AI technology. The police also sent handwriting samples to the National Forensic Service for further examination. A police officer once said that although identifying someone by their voice is less accurate than DNA testing, they are still doing everything they can to uncover the truth. The program Want to Know the Truth featured the case twice and once again played the kidnapper's voice at the end of the October 2019 broadcast, hoping to urge the police to reopen the investigation. Host Moon Sung-kian delivered an emotional message during the show. The murderer who kidnapped and killed Hyung-ho. Are you watching this program right now? If so, I want to ask you, after taking Hyung-ho's life, has his image ever appeared in your dreams? What did he say to you? If you're watching this, I want you to know that we will do everything we can to find you for the sake of protecting our children, and we will never forgive you. The murder of Lee Hyung-ho, along with the Frog Boys case and the Hwaseong serial murders, are often referred to as the three most shocking unsolved cases in South Korea. In 2019, after 33 years, the killer behind the Hwaseong serial murders was finally caught, reigniting hope for resolution in the other two cases. Time keeps moving forward, but the case of Lee Hyung-ho remains a chilling scar in the minds of many South Koreans. The cruel laughter of the criminal, the scattered clues, and the wild theories have all built a wall of mystery that hides the truth. Even though the chances of finding the real killer are fading, Hyung-ho's family and those who care about the case have never given up. They believe justice might be delayed, but it will never be denied. Years have passed and technology continues to advance, offering a faint light in the darkness. Forensic experts are tirelessly analyzing the evidence again, hoping to discover new clues. The Korean police have also formed a special task force to handle long-standing cold cases, including this one. They're using the most advanced investigation techniques and urging the public to come forward with any helpful information, all in the hope of reopening the case, bringing the criminal to justice, clearing Hyung-ho's name, and giving peace to his family even if it comes late. No matter what the outcome may be, the case of Lee Hyung-ho serves as a stark reminder of the importance of justice, truth, and compassion in our lives. That's the end of today's video. See you in the next one. Goodbye.